So this is going to be about syncretism and African religious practices in Louisiana. And this is how they came to fuse African traditions along with traditional Christianity. The history of African religions in Louisiana is deeply entwined with the transatlantic slave trade, which forcibly brought millions of Africans to the Americas. Among the enslaved people who arrived in Louisiana, many brought with them rich cultural, spiritual, and religious traditions that were shaped by centuries of African heritage. In the face of slavery's brutalities, these African religious practices underwent significant transformations influenced by the dominant Christian ideology of their enslavers. Over time, the unique form of spirituality then emerged, known for its syncretism, the blending of African beliefs with elements of Christianity. This fusion of faiths played a crucial role in the survival and resistance of enslaved people, who found in their syncretic religious practices not only a means of spiritual survival, but also a subtle form of defiance and empowerment. African religious practices in Louisiana were when enslaved Africans brought to Louisiana, various religions from West and Central Africa, each with religious beliefs that were very distinct. Some of the most notable religions that were practiced by enslaved people in Louisiana included Vodun, or Voodoo, Yoruba-based religions, and Congo Beliefs. So let's talk about Vodun Voodoo, right? Vodun, originating from the Fon and Ewe people in West Africa, is one of the most influential African religions in Louisiana, particularly in New Orleans. Vodun focuses on the worship of spirits known as Loa, and a supreme god as well. Rituals, offerings, ceremonies are part of the Vodun practice, and these elements are preserved in Louisiana despite attempts by the enslavers to erase African religious practices. Over time, Vodun blended with Catholicism, particularly in its veneration of saints, many of whom were associated with the Vodun Roi. For example, the Catholic saint Our Lady of Guadalupe became associated with the Vodun spirit Erzulie, and St. Peter was linked to Papa Legba, the guardian of the crossroads. In Yoruba-based religions, the Yoruba people hailing from present-day Nigeria and Benin practice a religion centered around the worship of deities known as Orisha. These Orishas represent various aspects of nature and human life, and practitioners sought their guidance and protection through elaborate rituals and offerings. Yoruba beliefs deeply influenced the formation of what is now known as Santería in Cuba, but it also had a significant impact on Louisiana religious practices, and probably also in Haiti as well. In Louisiana, the Orishas merged with the Catholic saints, such as Saint Barbara being equated with the Orisha Oshun, the goddess of love and fertility. We have Congo beliefs as well. Enslaved Africans from the Congo region brought with them religious practices that focused on ancestor worship, divination, and spirit possession. These beliefs and rituals also blended with Catholicism, and elements of the Congo religion are still present in modern day Louisiana spiritual practices. For example, the Catholic veneration of saints was often a disguise for the worship of many African spirits. So let's talk more about the fusion of Christianity and African religions. The fusion of Christianity with African beliefs in Louisiana was both a survival strategy and a form of resistance for many enslaved people. Slavery sought to destroy African cultural identities, and Christian missionaries aggressively promoted conversion. Yet enslaved Africans creatively combined Christian elements with their own religious traditions, ensuring that their spiritual practices would survive despite the oppressive systems around them. If you even think about the Roman Catholic Church, a lot of this blended with traditional Roman pagan beliefs as well, and in the way that it formed also, particularly when you think about the veneration of a day like Sunday or something like that, or the fact that Christmas takes place around what used to be a very sacred Roman holiday. So the Africans took aspects of Christianity, such as the Exodus, the suffering of Christ, the concept of salvation, and reinterpreted them through the lens of their own experiences and spiritual understandings. For example, the story of Moses leading the Israelites out of slavery in Egypt resonated deeply with enslaved people in Louisiana. The narrative mirrored itself in their own aspirations for freedom. They interpreted it as a divine promise that they would eventually be liberated. Similarly, the figure of Jesus as a suffering savior was often associated with the plight of African slaves, symbolizing their own suffering and their hope for eventual salvation and redemption. At the same time, enslaved Africans reimagined the Christian saints, combining them with African deities in an effort to retain their cultural identity. This fusion allowed enslaved people to continue their religious practices under the guise of Catholicism, participating in rituals that were profoundly rooted in African spiritual traditions, while outwardly seeming to conform to their master's Christian expectations. So let's talk about spirituality as perhaps even a form of resistance. Syncretism in religion was more than just a survival strategy, it became a means of resistance. Religious practices allowed enslaved people to claim some sense of agency in a society that seeked to deny them any personal autonomy, that didn't let them necessarily practice what they'd come with. Through rituals, dances, songs, and prayers, the enslaved Africans created a powerful form of cultural expression that defied the oppressive system of slavery. Rather than stamping all of their culture out, it was able to be blended and fused in a way that allowed the best of both worlds. And this sustained a hope of freedom in the face of enslavement. One of the key elements of African religious practices in Louisiana was the belief in the supernatural and the use of spiritual power for protection and resistance. Enslaved people used the charms, the talismans, the rituals to protect themselves from harm and to invoke spirits for strength and guidance. In times of rebellion or insurrection, spiritual leaders such as Vodun priests or priestesses often played a crucial role, guiding and inspiring the next generations to become resistance movements over time, even if it necessarily wasn't an outright revolt. So the syncretic religious practices that emerged in Louisiana were a testament to the resilience and the adaptability of enslaved Africans. Despite these horrible conditions, being forcibly torn from their homeland, they found ways to survive and cope and preserve the traditions they had brought with them to create a unique spiritual system that allowed them to endure the brutal realities of their current fate. Through this fusion of faith, enslaved people not only found a way to maintain their cultural identity, but also develop a powerful form of resistance, as well as be able to successfully survive in a new environment where they were forced to conform to what the current beliefs were by their oppressors. Still, the survival and strength of the African traditions in the face of this adversity is remarkable, and we have to applaud that these individuals who had gone through a major transformation, which should have left them emotionally drained or damaged, was still something that they could take away as having some semblance of autonomy in the face of this crisis. If you like this message, please like, share, and subscribe. If you're new here, this is a safe space. All are welcome. If you're returning, I'm glad that you're back. In the name of the Most High God and His Lord and Savior, Son Jesus Christ, I wish you health, wealth, prosperity, and abundance, blessings and protection as you so deserve. Please have a wonderful and blessed day, and take care of yourselves.